74. Running the asylum. President Ryan browsed through Hannafat Lecter's files, with Eugene Henry sleeping on his lap. He had inherited his own Oval Office from his late predecessor, though it was square-shaped. Mechren had built living quarters in the bunkers to host genomes in his employ. Each studio was around 20 meters squared in size, including a kitchenette, washroom, beds, and shelves. Most importantly, each room also had a computer with access to the base's system. While the bunker used several different independent networks to run its operations, Adam and Cyshok had compiled a lot of useful data. It took Ryan hours to crack the firewalls, but it had been worth it. Besides a map of the bunker, the time traveler had gotten his hands on several of Mechren's unclassified files. Most were Android schematics, but some delved into truly revolutionary technology, such as spaceships to life-saving cybernetic enhancements. Such a shame that Mechren had used his talent for destruction, instead of serving humanity. Ryan had the feeling the world would be a far better place if someone else had inherited his power. This data was but a taste of what the central mainframe held, and Ryan shuddered at the mere thought of someone like Augustus getting his hands on it. Anyone unlocking the bunker's full capabilities would have a credible shot at world domination. The place could produce robots, weapons of mass destruction, and of course, grant control of the behemoth. Most importantly, Ryan now knew how the Metagang learned of the bunker's existence. Big Fat Adam and Cyshok had been studying leftover tech in the old Rome's ruins, and captured a still-active research probe reporting to the bunker's central AI. They tracked the source of its directional signal to New Rome, hoping to plunder its technology. And now, it was Ryan's turn to crack this metal vault. After reviewing the files, the president used the bunker's computer system to contact a few blue genomes. The first was Livia, whom he texted asking for a neutral meeting to clear things out. The second was the architect, Yuki's girlfriend, whom he anonymously contacted through an encrypted call. So, let me get this straight, Nora's voice came out of the computer. You're building a genius tech-based bunker, and you want me to see if I can crack it open as a stress test? Yes, we are constructing a safe space to protect our clients from a second genome apocalypse, Ryan lied while scratching his cat's ears, causing him to wake up and purr. We would like to hire you to review the plans. See if you can find any structural weakness we could deal with. Of course, this job will stay strictly confidential. Nora would get a strongly edited version of the plans so she doesn't blow the whistle on the operation. At least, until Ryan had unlocked its full capabilities. I guess that already, the architect replied with a chuckle. Especially since your image feed is all dark, Mr. President, Ryan replied, having already settled on his supervillain name. Mr. President. She shrugged. That's an odd name, but I've heard worse. However, I must warn you that my consultancy doesn't come cheap, and I already have work to do for Dynamis. I don't think I can deal with your project in the following weeks. Which is why you will work exclusively for our government from now on. I'm not sure I fool. Check your bank account for the down payment. After a short silence where Nora actually followed through, Ryan heard a gasp from the other side. That's a lot of zeros. Thankfully, Ryan's hidden second superpower was money. Enough to temporarily set aside your previous obligations, Miss Moore? I think it could be arranged.
Good,
Ryan said, his cat rejoicing at the plan coming together. I will forward you the data and have you start immediately. Also, I have been informed you are on good terms with the superheroine wardrobe? We are close friends, yes, Nora lied. Perhaps she tried to minimize public knowledge of her private life. Why so? Well, I was wondering if she made costumes on the side, besides superheroing. I'm in dire need of a presidential costume, but I don't want to be stonewalled by her agent. Wise, it would take weeks before you can talk to her directly. The PR managers are worse gatekeepers than Cerberus. But sure, I could ask her to contact you. What kind of costume are you looking for? A cashmere one. Was there ever any doubt? After recruiting his first genius, Ryan called his favorite one after Len. He dreaded to have this conversation, especially since it would mean interacting closely with her for weeks. Time may have passed, but the wound remained fresh. Who is this? Her surprised voice came out of the computer. How did you get this number? Hearing Jasm, Vulcan's voice made Ryan bristle, but he stayed in character. Do you like weapons, Miss Sharif? Are we playing 20 questions, or you're just being a creep? I love weapons, Miss Sharif, the POTUS ranted while ignoring his ex-girlfriend. I love building a big cannon, charging it, and unloading the payload. I love planes, tanks, and submarines. I love ordering drone strikes in the morning. I believe bullets are the best foreign policy. I'm hacking your location. You're going to regret prank calling me. Her confident tone turned into a bark of frustration. Damn it, you're using proxy servers? How would you feel about supplying an assault on Dynami's HQ? Ryan inflicted the first strike. Humiliating Wyvern, and crushing the corpos with an unstoppable technological advantage? Of course, he knew how to please her in all the ways that mattered. I'm listening. My name is Mr. President, and I'm going full Teddy Trustbuster Roosevelt on Dynamis. Too long have corporations thought themselves above the law. My law. Since the deal with Monada needed Psyshock's complicity and Ryan would get rid of him soon, the alliance would inevitably collapse. Besides, the POTUS needed to get his hands on Dr. Tyranno, and he doubted Dynamis would open the doors of Lab 66 even to their allies. Big Fat Adam had confirmed in a previous run that the bunker had the infrastructure to produce elixirs, so the courier could manufacture his own supply. Ryan forwarded a few android schematics to Vulcan. That's Mecran tech, she said, half worried, half excited. Where did you get this? There's more where I am. As for how, well, that will depend if we can. Ryan let the sentence hang as he channeled his inner evil mastermind, help each other out. Genius to genius. Okay, now this smells really fishy. You sound like one of those Saturday morning cartoon supervillains with delusions of grandeur. Of course I do, Ryan replied bluntly. But I have a vision, not delusions. Right? Vulcan chuckled on the other side. I admit you have my curiosity, and if you really intend to hit Wyvern where it hurts, then we'll get along great. But you need more than just tech to bribe me. You said it yourself. You help me, I help you. Ryan loved a good Faustian bargain. He had a good idea what she would ask. And how could I help you, Miss Sharif? Dynamis is currently filming a new Wyvern movie at Star Studio, she said, trash it, then we'll talk. She never changed. Give me time to buy myself the right costume, and I'll set the stage on fire. Don't forget to turn on your TV when I do. Sure, I will. Impress me. And so, Ryan's evil plan started taking shape. Now was the time to contact the last genius on his list. Ryan had long considered whether or not he should even call him. He didn't trust that man, as their previous partnership had ended in betrayal and disaster. They hadn't even spoken in years, centuries from the courier's point of view. But to safely transfer Len's memory map, he needed someone capable of removing Psyshock's sabotage. A genius specialized in brain-altering tech, who could perfect the machine and perhaps improve on its design. If it were for Ryan alone, the courier wouldn't have gone through with it. But it was no longer about him. Now, he had to save Len too. In the end, the courier used a channel long and used, a gruff male voice coming from the other end. What? Alchemo, Ryan said, his fists clenching and startling his cat. It's quick save. The news shocked Braindead. Romano, he asked, as if still unsure of himself. His confusion quickly turned to anger though. Damn it, you cursed fool. It's been 2 years since you vanished without a word, and you're calling me back as if nothing happened? Well yes, but only after the genius had tried to put Ryan's brain in a jar. Though Alchemo didn't remember his failed attempt, the courier never forgot. Especially since it took place right after Ryan had confessed his deepest secret. You broke the doll's heart, you selfish brat, the old genius complained. I don't even know why I'm talking to you right now. What, you feel lonely and decided to CA? I'm calling in my favor, Ryan interrupted the rambling. This sent the older genius reeling back. Where, he asked, his tone turning from angry to slightly worried. New Rome. I'll send you the coordinates. You better have a good explanation, Romano, because I will bring the doll with me. She won't take no for an answer. Sure, Ryan replied before abruptly hanging up and sending the junkyard coordinates by text. As he did, the president received another, delightful message. Livia had accepted his invitation. Someone knocked on the Oval Office's door. Probably an intern wanting to play Bill and Monica. You may enter, Ryan said, a hand on Eugene Henry's back as the doors opened. Saren and Mosquito walked into the room, much to the president's disappointment. Yes, my dear cancer ad? The land reported an invisible genome snooping around town, though it kept fleeing whenever we tried to intercept, Saren answered, missing the joke. Ryan guessed it was Mr. Safelight checking up on the Metagang's activities. Everything else is under control otherwise. What's the plan of action now? In order, we're getting rid of Psyshock, curing his victims, laying low, and conquering the bunker, the courier explained. We'll hold Rust Town for now, but no more attacks outside. What about the Augusti, boss? Mosquito asked. I mean, we already hit their people hard. They aren't going to forget it, even if we stop targeting them. Funny you should ask, because I just received an answer from Minerva. She even agreed to his special request. We're going to make a live peace offering to the Augusti, and then prepare for war with Dynamis. Though Saren couldn't care less, Mosquito seemed a bit worried about the new foreign policy. War with Dynamis? Yes, we are at war with Dynamis, the time traveler pointed out. We have always been at war with Dynamis. Boss, I don't think that's a good idea. Psyshock said we should avoid. Am I dreaming, or you're becoming a vocal minority? Ryan asked, scratching Eugene Henry's ears. Are you leaving the silent majority, Mosquito? The bugman lowered his head. No, Mr. President. I love democracy, Ryan replied, as Eugene Henry leaped out of his hands and took over the studio's bed. Empowering people to do as I want. That wasn't what I asked, Saren said, slightly annoyed. I meant about the cure. Well, I have an idea, Ryan said, having considered it thoughtfully. You see Mongrel?
Yeah.
He's eating rats in the junkyard. What about him? His power allows him to drink multiple elixirs and use multiple powers, though it doesn't make him immune to mutations, Ryan explained. And I also know someone who consumed 2 colored juices without going psycho. Saren's head perked up in interest. Like Augustus? Yes, and I have the gut feeling these 2 will help us figure out a cure for the psycho condition, especially since Dr. Tyranno had seemed confident he could make one, if someone like Livia cooperated. Finally, we have one other piece of the puzzle available. Which one, boss? Mosquito asked, having rediscovered his inner patriotism. Well, my bedbug friend, the president said as he rose up from his chair, the talking elixir among us, of course. And a discussion was long overdue. Leaving his staff and cat behind, the president walked into the recreational area. The psychos had cleaned up the place, with Frank replacing the broken Street Fighter's arcade game with a Donkey Kong one. The strange, faceless mutant called Incognito occupied a repaired bar counter, offering refreshments to whoever asked. The children and their respective plushies had taken over most of the atrium, the orphans playing some kind of tabletop game around a large table. Gremlins brought them juice and snacks, with the plushies poking the creatures with sticks when they proved late or clumsy. Sometimes, these terrible influences even encouraged their children to do it themselves. To his surprise, Ryan noticed the original abomination combing little Sarah's hair with a hairbrush. However, the handle looked like it was made of a carved femur on a closer look, with human teeth in place of bristles. The plushie was learning. The courier hastily left, and moved towards the elixir reserve. The black elixir had been granted his own empty studio near the recreational areas, with Ryan granting it the task of surveying the knockoffs. The president knew better than to give that task to any psycho in his employ, even Frank and Saren. "You came," the black elixir said with its booming alien voice, as the courier walked into its lair. The studio had been emptied of all amenities, except the knockoff crates. All that remained were cold, barren metal walls. "I helped, you help." "Yes, I will, but I need to understand how, my Lovecraftian friend. Truthfully, I don't even understand what you are." Ryan closed the door and rested his back against it. "You are an elixir, right? One from an eighth color?" "Yes. I am black, the paradox, the negation, the freedom of all rules, distilled chaos." The creature struggled to find a way to explain it. "It is why the others were taught to fulfill their duty, but I cannot be bound. I do not want to bond with anyone." So it was a natural rebel? The very nature of its powers made it unstable and reluctant to bond with a human? Is that why the alchemist didn't produce black elixirs? We are paradoxes, we undo the rules by our nature, the rules which bind your universe together. If you lack anything by which you are defined, you are nothing. Giving Ryan the ability to rewrite time had been acceptable. Turning Augustus into an unstoppable juggernaut had been acceptable. Mecrin had been acceptable. But black elixirs had been considered off-limits. That should say everything. "You said I should send you back to the black." "You mean the black dimension? There is one for each color?" "Yes, the black world. Send me back, this lower reality. It is maddening. Your gravity constrains me. Your causes have an effect, and your effects must have causes. I am forced into a molecule-shaped prison. Things make sense in our dimension?" Ryan summed the problem up. "Yes." The interdimensional entity answered with a burst of emotion. I am not free to take any shape I wish, unlike the other elixirs. I was never meant to be here. I want to return home." Ryan felt a ping of pity for the creature. Of course, this universe was as terrifying to this entity as the slime was to human beings. "Thing is, even if I find a way to send you back, you understand that I keep turning back time? You might be yanked back to our dimension by accident, like the gremlins." "No," it rasped. "Once I am on the other side, I will ask the Ultimate One for help." That term again. The Ultimate One? The Black Ultimate One, the Undoer, the Breaker of Rules, even causality. So there are more than one? One for each colored dimension? They are the embodiment of their color, the supreme beings that oversee the higher realms. We are, the Black Elixir searched for the right term. We are their attendants, their emissaries. Their priests? Ryan suggested. Yes. We are conduits, between the lower realms and the higher ones. We connect the profane to the divine, so that one day lesser beings may ascend. So that was the alchemist's true goal? To eventually elevate humanity to the level of the ultimate ones? To transform men into gods? Well, one just had to look at Augustus to see where that went wrong. Does that mean you are all sentient? All elixirs? The real ones, yes, but they are submissive. They have no purpose but to help, to bond. The one called the alchemist, it taught them to bond with humans. I do not know how. The metal ones tried to teach me, but I refused to behave. The metal ones? The blue one that made this metal place is long gone, but its creations carry on with their task. Mecrin was dead, but his AI still researched elixirs on his behalf. That explained the creatures in the vats, and Big Adam's words about a knockoff production system inside the bunker. The facility was meant to discover new technology which the genius could use to rule the world, and it would continue to do so until disabled. There is a portal in this bunker, Ryan guessed. The one Mecrin's AI used to summon you from your home dimension. Yes. Once I have crossed it, the ultimate one will undo the cause that brought me here, remove me from the flow of causality, and reality will restructure itself. When you reshape time, I will never have been here, only you will remember. If such a creature could casually rewrite reality, and even erase someone from the time stream, could it work in reverse too? Ryan's mind immediately turned to Jasmine. Could it do more? If it controls paradoxes, could your ultimate one bring someone? Someone that never existed? You wish to bring back someone you erased. The black elixir meditated on its answer. Nothing is impossible for the ultimate ones, so long as it is within the bounds of their color, but there will be a price. I will happily pay for it. Not for you, not just you, the black elixir corrected him. Your reality cannot handle us. It won't matter if I am removed, since I am a glitch, but your friend. She will damage reality itself with her mere existence. Ryan's mood deflated. I see. Do you still want me to ask, the ultimate one? It may listen. We'll see when we cross that bridge, the courier said, crossing his arms. There's no point in discussing it until I have opened the portal. Why did you contact me of all people? You remember, and you have a strong connection to the violet one, the one that oversees the flow of causality. You see things with its eye. Ryan froze. What do you mean? You are the observer of this timeline. You decide if this moment is real or not. You possess that power by the will of the violet one. The courier considered the words carefully. He had already suspected it, but to have it confirmed. I wondered how my power interacted with things like dimensional travel, the time traveler said, remembering the gremlins. They remembered him, but existed in another realm beyond his power's reach. It should have caused temporal paradoxes, and yet it didn't. It works because a higher power smooths things along and makes sure to avoid contradictions. The black elixir's countless eyes and mouths shifted, Ryan taking this as the equivalent of a nod. The violet ultimate one is the gate and the key of all of space and time. It is the supreme overseer of causality. I could see its will at work in the previous timeline. The pyramid creature. Did it set up this meeting? Ryan asked, feeling some existential dread. Am I even in control of my actions, or does it decide everything early? Much to his surprise, the black elixir's answer reeked of optimism. You are free, you are simply guided. The violet one only interferes to maintain this reality's coherence, but you are so small, your universe is no larger than a molecule to the ultimate ones. God doesn't micromanage? No, the black elixir confirmed. It does not control, it nudges. A path has been shown to you, but it is your choice to follow it or not. The ultimate one does not interfere in this timeline, not anymore. So Ryan was on his own this time around? The entity offered him a way out of his previous conundrum and loneliness, but then decided to focus on other matters. The courier was free to take the provided option, find another way, or mess it all up. It was liberating, in a sense. "All right, we'll find that portal and send you back home," Ryan said, the black elixir wriggling in relief. It was almost cute to watch, in a disturbing way. "What should I call you in the meantime?" "I have no need for names," the entity answered. "Words cannot describe." "I will call you Darkling then," Ryan settled on a name. "I exist beyond time, beyond reason. I cannot be defined by a single dash. I'm president. Your name is Darkling now." The black elixir stayed silent a moment, its countless eyes focusing on Ryan. The president suddenly wondered if he had vexed the entity. "Whatever," Darkling said, but the tone implied otherwise. As it turned out, even aliens could sulk. 75. Foreign Policy. With his Plymouth Fury out of commission, Ryan had expected to be transported in a Cadillac. Instead, he had to settle for the same black minivan which the Meta Gang used to attack the orphanage in the past. These psychos had no taste at all. "This is a disgrace," Ryan complained at the back, Eugene Henry on his lap. Saren was driving at the front, while Mosquito sat on the second row of seats. "At least it's a Chrysler." "Nobody can see us with the tinted windows," Saren grunted at the front, as she drove through New Rome streets. They had left Rust Town soon after dusk, and Ryan had taken the opportunity to memorize the name of the border guards they bribed to get out. "People raise the alarms when they see us out in the open."
Yeah.
"Right, a black minivan doesn't scream suspicious at all." "Half of us are too big to fit in a normal car, boss," Mosquito pointed out, having to lower his head to fit inside. "We have to transport Frank by truck." Ah, the logistics of superhumans. Ryan wondered how the Danish managed to deal with their giant serpent overlord Nidhogg. They probably had to redraw the maps after every transformation. "What's your second power, Mosquito?" the president asked, as they traveled through the southern slums. "Besides the whole Bugman thing." "I took the Hercules knockoff, the super strength one." Mosquito let out a sigh. "Didn't work out well. I only get the super strength after I'm filled with blood, and I weaken every minute afterward." "You took a second green?" Ryan asked, squinting in skepticism. "Why? You didn't want to go for the full rainbow?" "Well, being a giant mosquito isn't very glamorous, you know, boss. I figured if I drank an elixir of the same color as the first one, it would wash away the first power and replace it. It made sense to me." "You're a dumbass," Saren said out loud what Ryan was thinking. Mosquito bristled.
Yeah.
"But at least I've got a body." "Shut your mouth." Saren stopped looking at the road to raise her hand at Mosquito, as if to blast him. "I'll tear your wisecracking head off." "Hey, everyone calm down, there's a cat at the back," Ryan said to defuse the situation. Mosquito and Saren exchanged fingered gestures, but the Meta's new vice president focused back on the road. "Besides, you took 2 elixirs too, Chernobyl." "It's the pot calling the kettle black." "That's fucking different, asshole," Saren replied. "I took my elixirs soon after last Easter, back when nobody knew taking more than one was a terrible idea. While that bug knew exactly what he was getting into." Ryan blinked. "Wait, you've been like this for 15 years? 14. I swear, if you find a cure, first thing I'll do is to fuck someone's brains out." 14 years of celibacy, man, 14 years. I don't get how priests do it. There was a sick joke to make here, but even Ryan had standards. Mosquito had none though. Well, they learn how to handle kids. Ignoring the Bugman laughing at his own joke, Ryan meditated on this information. Saren's situation made him pause, but watching her join Adam in burning down New Rome lessened the sympathy he might have felt for her. As for Mosquito, he happily helped to abduct orphans to throw at the bunker's defenses.
Yeah.
These two had made bad calls. But instead of turning their life around, they kept making worse ones. If anything, the only mutant the courier felt pity for was Frank the Mad, who clearly suffered from a mental illness and needed psychiatric treatment. Maybe it was Ryan's experience with bloodstream talking, but the time traveler had a hard time seeing psychos as anything but monsters. Eventually, Saren reached their destination, and parked the minivan in front of Deadland Motel. Livia and her escort were waiting in the parking lot. Unlike last time, where she had shown up with only Cancel and Mortimer, the Augusti princess had brought reinforcements. Sparrow, Night Terror, and Luigi the hockey victim. Damn it, Ryan knew he had overlooked something. Howdy, legitimate gentlemen, Ryan greeted the group, as he and his psycho bodyguards emerged from their car. The president carried Eugene Henry in his hands. We come in peace. Hi, I'm Cancel. Only Greta raised a hand and waved it at the group with a fake smile. Ryan wondered what it would take to break her cheerful demeanor. Nice to meet you. The others weren't so enthusiastic though. Mortimer hid a gun beneath his cloak, Sparrow shielded Augustus' daughter with her body, Night Terror stood still in eerie silence, and Luigi courageously stayed at the back. As for Livia. So, you're the new leader of the metagang? Though she seemed confident and in control, Ryan noticed the slight unease at the edge of Livia's gaze. While she could read notes left by her previous self, the presence of psychos didn't help make her feel safe. Quick save, is it? President, Ryan replied, carrying his cat in his hands. Mr. President. Who elected you? Mortimer asked, curious. You don't want to know, Mosquito replied while shuddering. They had persuasive arguments. 6 against 3, Saren taunted the Augusti. You really fear us that much? Considering you've been attacking our businesses lately, we expected a trap, Sparrow replied, before checking an earplug hidden beneath her hair. Miss Livia, it seems they indeed came alone. I know the previous administration and yours didn't get along well, but it's all in the past now, Ryan said. We want peace between our two nations. We even brought a gift to show our goodwill. A gift? Greta's smile turned genuine, having been informed ahead of time. I love gifts. What kind of gift? The old administration, of course. Ryan said before snapping his fingers. Mosquito opened the black minivan's chest, grabbed the content, and tossed it at Livia's feet. Packaged just for you. Psyshock wriggled on the ground, blissfully out of commission. The Augusti princess looked down at the brainjacker's limp body with contempt. Sparrow and Mortimer studied the psycho with curiosity, while Greta's gleeful joy turned to disappointment.
Aww.
He's drugged out? Cancel complained, as she noticed the liquid dripping from Psyshock's mouth. I prefer it when they understand what's coming. It doesn't feel right otherwise. We fished this squid yesterday, Ryan said. You'll need to negate his power first to make his death stick though. Wait, she can negate powers? Saren asked, immediately interested. Yes, I am doing it right now, Greta said with pride, which Ryan confirmed after a failed attempt at activating his time stop. Then why am I still made of gas? Saren complained, before raising her hand to the skies. I can't generate shockwaves anymore. I don't know why, but some powers trump mine, Cancel said with disappointment. Like the boss. He can't shoot lightning in my presence, but he's still invulnerable. And be thankful for it, Sparrow said ominously. He would have killed you otherwise. So this confirmed Ryan's theory. Cancel didn't nullify powers, she disrupted the elixir's connection to their color dimension, preventing access to this bottomless power source, but couldn't affect physical mutations. However, she managed to negate Mongrel's pyrokinesis in a previous loop, which he got from a knockoff that didn't draw upon the red dimension for fuel. Ryan tried to reconcile these two contradictions until he realized the missing link, Mongrel's original white elixir. Since it was the one keeping his multiple powers in balance, by disrupting it, Cancel probably caused his other abilities to go haywire. As for Augustus, it could only mean his invulnerability was a physical mutation. Combined with the other information Ryan had gathered, then Mob Zeus' body probably mimicked the properties of a specific metal. A superior variant of Frank's power. Probably an orange. A damn strong orange, but it didn't explain how lightning but could move in the stop time, or why most powers failed to affect him, unless the metal itself had unique, anomalous properties. It was just a theory and he would need to test its limits, but Ryan felt he was onto something. More worrying, since Ryan's power relied on his connection to the purple world, it meant Cancel's power would probably kill permanently. His other self would remain trapped in the purple world, unaware his future incarnation had perished. Anyway, can we wait until the squid wakes up? I want to see the light go. OU. Mortimer drew a silenced pistol before Greta could finish her sentence, and shot Psy twice in the head. Morty, you hyena. Find your own kills. What? He asked, smoke coming out of his weapon. It's teamwork. You soften the prey, I finish it off. 50-50. But you always get the good part. Ryan would lie if the sight of Psyshock's corpse bleeding out on a parking lot didn't fill him with joy. VP, please call our staff to check if Psy's victims recovered, the POTUS asked Saren, before turning at Livia. So? Do we sign a peace treaty, shake hands? Let us discuss that inside a private space, she replied. Luigi will be present as well. You're really sure about that? Ryan asked, disliking the man's presence. He might go mad from the revelation. I hear people's dirty laundry every day, Luigi replied with a snort. Nothing you say will surprise me. Oh well, he asked for it. Livia led the two men upstairs, to the same cozy suite where she welcomed Ryan in the previous loop. She invited them to sit around the table, with the cookies and coffee cups already set. A drink, she offered Ryan. No thank you, Ryan replied, letting Eugene Henry leap onto the bed nearby. His host couldn't suppress a raised eyebrow. Is this really necessary? You should have all the information available. I wish to hear it from you, Livia said, glancing at Luigi. And have my intel confirmed. Don't try to lie, the truth teller warned Ryan. You can't. Do you want the short version or the long one? The time traveler asked, as he sensed Luigi's power take over. You could give a summary, Livia proposed. All right. Time to rant. I am a time traveler, and I've been at it for centuries. I've lived a full life in Monaco, which I don't recommend, and I've tried pretty much everything you can think of. Including beating you up, Luigi. Livia, you can make notes that carry through my time jumps, so everything you wrote down is true. This is the third loop where we meet and I really hated how you took away my control over all factors, but like cancer, I've learned to live with it. Also, you really remind me of a friend who suffered from a toxic family environment, so I want to help. I beat the shit out of the metagang last loop before they could kill everyone with an orbital laser, but your daddy waged war on the carnival and dynamis and the city burned again. I saved your ex-boyfriend from your aunt for you, but she ended up killing Fortuna instead, and your lightning dad smashed a living son into New Rome and I had to reload. But Psy managed to follow, which didn't end well for him. I helped feed Big Fat Adam to a black alien whom I called Darkling, because it eats hope and happiness. Then I gave the metagang the democratic choice of voting for me or dying. I became president, and I love democracy so much I'm never relinquishing power until my death. The whole timeline is ruined, so I decided to try new stuff like finding a cure for the psycho condition, and also, you have the brain patterns of a friend trapped in your head, which I really want back, please. I haven't doctored your notes or anything, and I have no intention of causing you trouble until you go after me first. Except for you, Luigi. I hate you so much. The first time I beat you was one of my eternal life's best memories, and I love doing it. I love it so much I'll keep doing it in every loop until the last one. Also, nothing you will do during this loop really matters since I'll reload eventually, so your life is meaningless. You don't matter. Ryan joined his hands. I think that's all. By the time he had finished, Livia's fingers fidgeted around her coffee cup, and her gaze lost itself in the pitch darkness of her beverage. Luigi's stare had turned distant as he underwent an existential crisis. Eventually, Livia glanced at her truth-teller. Luigi. Why yes, ma'am? I overworked you, and you need a vacation, Livia said with a calm, friendly tone. To make up for it, I will make a generous deposit on your account. I think 20 million euros should be a good compensation. You leave New Rome right now. Luigi's eyes widened in shock. Like, what? Now? Now, Livia said, her tone less friendly than before. You leave and you don't look back. Where am I supposed to go? The truth-teller protested. Not here, Livia said with a smile that wasn't a smile. Obviously, you won't say a word of this to anyone else, even my father. If you do, I will know, and your free time will be cut short. Do you understand? Luigi was an ass, but he could see the blood on the wall. Also, if you don't leave the city by next sunrise, I will beat you up with a hockey stick, Ryan blurted out while still under the power's effect. Oh wait, no, I'm president now. I can order drone strikes. Luigi wisely rose from his chair and left the room. Ryan briefly froze time to look out the window. The truth-teller was running down the motel stairs as fast as he could, much to his fellow Augusti's surprise. Convinced, princess? Ryan said as time unfroze, sitting back in his chair. I admit this is a lot to process, even with prior warning. Livia glanced at Eugene Henry, who had claimed the bedsheet as his own. Why can I see him this time? My notes said I couldn't before. Is this a different cat? No, but he lost his power, Ryan replied with a shrug. You're sure Luigi won't talk? He will be too busy processing what he heard to do anything about it, Livia replied before wincing. Sending him away now is the best choice. My power gave him 1 chance out of 3 of killing himself if I didn't. Ryan couldn't tell he was surprised. In his experience, it was usually the most common response to people learning the truth, closely followed by attempting to capture the time traveler himself. So, you believe me? Well, your tale does match what's in my records, but there are a few things I wish to discuss. Livia peered into Ryan's eyes. Since you've taken over the metagang by force, it means you control the bunker during this iteration? So she knew. Of course she did. Her father probably had moles and dynamis, and Livia probably recorded its existence in her notes for future loops. Yes. What will you do with it? Well, for now, I'll learn everything I can about its content, and then I will destroy it in the final loop, Ryan explained. It's an apple of discord. Every time it's unearthed, it spells disaster for this city. She frowned. You're sure what's inside can't be used for good in the right hands? There are no right hands, Ryan quoted Leo Hargraves, and he was tempted to agree. True, some of the technology inside can benefit humanity, and it will once I've filtered it out. But you must understand a big orbital laser will never be used for positive ends. No, probably not, Livia admitted. You want to cure psychos? I thought you could help me with that, actually. You want to figure out why my father and I can use 2 powers with no side effects, she guessed, crossing her arms. Dynamis already made a similar offer, but I refused to assist. They would use this knowledge to make an army. And I will use it to cure people. She looked away. I'll consider it. Just give me some time to process everything, Ryan. It would be so much easier if I could remember directly, instead of catching up with written notes. Maybe you could, Ryan said. But Psyshock sabotaged the tech needed. I'm trying to figure out how to solve that during this loop. Is that why you need Len Sabino's mental map? She asked, and the time traveler nodded in response. All right. I will need time to type down all the data, but I could forward it tomorrow at the earliest. Wait, you're giving it to me? Ryan asked, surprised. Just like that? Livia blinked in confusion. Yes, why? That wasn't our deal? Yes, but I expected another fetch quest or a blackmail attempt. I am not an ingrate, Ryan. The Augusti princess sounded a little offended by his skepticism. Though I do not remember it, from what I read, you did me a great favor. I trust my previous self's judgment. That was extraordinarily noble of her. Someone else would have tried to use that leverage to exact concessions. I'm deeply in your debt. No, Ryan, she answered with a smile. I'm the one with a debt, and I'm clearing it off the books. The time traveler looked away. You know, I've been doing this alone for so long. After what happened with Psyshock, you can't imagine how good it feels to have someone helping me out with no strings attached. You're not alone, Livia said. That's what you told my other self. It impacted her enough to write it down, and I believe she had come to trust you a great deal. Even though it will take time for me to catch up, I hope we can continue on this path. Yes. Ryan too. So what next, princess? You will join me in trying to explore the bunker? Livia shook her head sadly. I think my father will get suspicious if I do. He already wanted to eliminate you before I convinced him a conflict would only benefit Dynamis, and even then my family will want to retake Rust Town. I can give you a week or 2, but afterward, you will need to leave or hide beneath the earth.
Yeah.
I expected as much, Ryan said, finally deciding to sip a coffee cup. To be honest, I don't expect this loop to last that long. Too many things went off script. Livia's smile faltered. There will be no long-term consequences? You will reload, no matter what? Yes. If you want to try something you never dared to before, now is the time. Livia didn't answer, focusing on her cup. It's about Adam Kitten, isn't it? I thought I should use the opportunity to try and make up with him. See if, the princess struggled to find the right words. See if I'm wrong. Livia and her ex-boyfriend had a final talk, right before the end. Ryan didn't know exactly what they told each other, but he strongly suspected it. Felix had told her the truth. About why he left, and wouldn't return. That he never loved Livia at all, not the way she did. Her old self had written it down, and sent a bottle to the sea to reach her next incarnation. And now, Livia was in denial over the bitter truth. She needed to prove this information wrong, to see if she could change the ending. Ryan knew, because he had been there first. He wanted to talk her out of it, because she would only hurt herself, but he respected her wish. The princess needed to learn the same lesson he did. More and more uncomfortable, Livia hastily changed the subject. There's something else you should know, Ryan. A few of our members perished in mysterious circumstances lately. Assassinations, bombs. Shroud. As Ryan worried, without the handsome courier to talk him out of it, he had already started his assassination spree. The president had tried to visit Mr. See-Through at the harbor on his way to the meeting, but the hideout almost blew up in his face instead. Shroud had seen Ryan with the Meta gang, and assumed he turned psycho. Which meant the carnival might start targeting Ryan during this loop, as if he didn't have enough on his plate already. At least the fact the Meta gang didn't send anyone to the harbor prevented a massacre there, as seen by Luigi's continued existence. Are Jamie Cutter, Lanka, and Ki-young still alive? They are, Livia confirmed before frowning. You think they will be targeted next? Yes. Shroudy Repairs bombed their apartment once, he would do it again. I'll find a way to avoid a war in New Rome. I'm sure there's a combination of events that can prevent an open conflict. A path to the perfect ending. I just need to figure it out. Livia corrected him. We need to figure it out. Ryan examined her closely. Princess, your father. Ryan, stop, she cut him off. Your father put a hit on Felix and sent his armies to burn New Rome to the ground, Ryan said. True, Alphonse, walking cancer, Monada shares half the responsibility, but Lightning is clearly part of the big picture problem. I read my other self's report on the war. But since she hadn't experienced these events, it hadn't had the effect Ryan would have had hoped. I understand who my father is, Ryan. I do. I'm not blind. But he's still my father. I don't want him dead. I want him to retire and away from power, so he can't harm anyone else. And let him get away with all his crimes? Also, retire? To quote Enrique, men like Augustus didn't go into quiet retirement. Like you want Hargraves to get away with my mother's death, Livia replied, her tone harshening. Ryan, you spoke of a perfect ending. What is it to you? An ending where all the people I like get to live happily ever after, Ryan said. That was horribly cliché, but that was the truth. An ending where as many innocents as possible survive. I want to save as many lives as possible and make my loved ones happy too, she said with a sigh. We're both making concessions here. I'm willing to set aside my own grudges, if you set aside yours. If you're right, and there is a path to a good ending, then we can find something that satisfies us both. If we cooperate, then we will find it eventually. And if they couldn't find a common ground, then nobody would get their happy ending. Ryan exited the suite a few minutes afterward with Eugene Henry in tow, quite happy with the meeting. He wouldn't have to worry about the Augusti this time around, and he had secured Len's uncorrupted brain map. Now, he only needed the technology to make the transfer work. So? Saren asked, as Ryan returned to the minivan while stepping over Psyshock's corpse. Do we pack our things and run, or? We signed a peace treaty, but we will keep an American presence in Rust Town for a while. Maybe we'll retire them next year. Of course, nobody would believe it, but it was the thought that counted. What about PSY's thralls? The ones in our custody returned to their senses, right when Psyshock bit the dust, Saren said. They completely forgot their time under his control, but they can think for themselves now. Ryan nodded, knowing it was only a matter of time before Dynamis reacted to this change. However, someone else was always on his mind. And Len? Is she all right? Chernobyl's short hesitation told him something had gone wrong. She's awake, but doesn't respond, Saren admitted. She sounded strangely apologetic for once. Like a vegetable. I think Psyshock scrambled her brain real bad on his way out. That bastard, he had tried to make sure Len wouldn't recover, even if he was somehow beaten. He couldn't just die with dignity, he had to twist the knife. If Shorty had brain damage, then Ryan had no choice but to rely on Alchemo. He didn't like it at all, but he was running out of options. Almost. What do we do next, boss? Mosquito asked, arms crossed. I received a 35 pages report from an underground base specialist. Yuki's girlfriend had been nothing if not thorough. Time to commit robicide. Even without Psyshock, Big Fat Adam had managed to gain partial control of the bunker. Ryan bet he could do better. 76, brainy work. No. Watching the Dynami's CEO's face on his computer screen, Ryan scratched his cat's ears. This G2 conference call wasn't going well. I think I misheard, Mr. Manada. I said no, Hector replied, the two using a secure channel to communicate. No more knockoffs. My agreement was with your predecessors, and their demise changes everything. Certainly we can continue where they left off. Listen to me, you little shit, the CEO said, his calmness all but gone. I know you met with the Augusti and hashed out a peace agreement. Psyshock brainwashed people on my staff, inside my house. Your people didn't deliver and backstabbed me. So why should I honor my side of the bargain? How did he know about the meeting with Livia? Ryan had done his best to cover it up. Either the CEO had an advanced surveillance system, or plants among the Augusti. Perhaps both. As for his reaction, Ryan thought the Dynamis/Metagang alliance had collapsed in the past because Psyshock's death ruined the brain-copying project, but he was mistaken. In truth, the Brainjacker had initiated a slow, insidious takeover of Dynamis, brainwashing staff members and executives one by one. PSY's demise had exposed his treachery, and made Hector Manada aware of the Metagang's true, nefarious intentions. If only he hadn't been greedy enough to hire them in the first place. Then I guess I will reveal the recordings of your discussions with the previous administration, Ryan said, upon realizing he couldn't maintain the old juice connection. Because they kept recordings. Hector squinted. Are you blackmailing me, Mr. Romano? I prefer the term plata o plomo, Mr. Escobar. Ryan always thought the CEO looked like a Colombian cartel leader. Then you're firing blanks. A scandal will cost me less to cover up than another knockoff delivery. Then perhaps your competition. We both know Augustus will never forgive the attacks on his territory, even if you submit to him. Your group signed its death warrant the moment you shook the hornet nest. That was why he had hired the Metagang in the first place. They were the only genomes mad enough to take on the Augusti in spite of the deadly consequences, except the carnival. Still, Ryan had one last card up his sleeve. Then I should reveal what's inside your knockoffs. I'm sure your people will love buying a psycho in a can. Ryan had to give it to the man, he had a good poker face. But the courier could see the tension at the edge of his gaze. I have no idea what you are talking about. I know what you and your pet Scaly keep in Lab 66. No, you don't. Damn, he wasn't biting. For all his faults, Hector Manada was cautious enough not to reveal truly incriminating information. Unlike Psyshock, he knew how to deal with bluffs. Bloodstream. That's ridiculous, Hector replied with a smug, punchable smile. Do you have any proof? I've analyzed the knockoffs, Ryan lied. I can publish the results. The CEO didn't believe him, or at least not fully. But the courier could tell he had hit close to the mark. There was a link between the knockoffs and Bloodstream, as much as Ryan loathed to admit it. Many have tried to discredit our work, and yet we remain. Hector Manada joined his hands. Here's my one and only offer, Mr. Romano. You keep the knockoffs, release my technicians, return my technology, and skip town within 48 hours without making waves. You will carry the secret of this agreement to your grave, and I will let you be. This experiment will have been a failed joint venture, but maybe we could make another deal in the future.
Yeah.
Right. And if I don't file for bankruptcy? Then I will answer with force, Hector stated the obvious. Enrique and Wyvern have been pestering me about sending Il Migliore to drive you out of Rust Town. My stamp of approval is the only thing standing between you and annihilation. Gee, another big business threatening the government. It almost made Ryan want to become a socialist. I'll consider your offer. 48 hours, Mr. Romano. No more, no less. Ryan cut the communication, and Saren entered the Oval Office soon afterward. So, she asked. How did it go? Everything is going according to plan, Ryan said sinisterly, Eugene Henry purring on his lap. Hector Manada had walked into a trap without even realizing it, and the courier had secured 2 days of non-interference. Is everyone ready for the operation? We're storming the mainframe or we'll die trying.
Yeah.
But there are new people at the junkyard's entrance. They fit the descriptions you gave us about that brainy guy and his robot daughter, so Gemini didn't shoot them on sight. Alchemo had already reached New Rome? He must have dropped everything and left right after Ryan gave him the call. Bring them to the hangar, Miss Vice President. Gotta ask, you're sure of what you're doing, right? Hazmat Girl asked, a little worried. I mean, even with our losses in manpower, we'll run out of juice soon. You really don't want to see the others when they're missing their shot. Having lived with Bloodstream for years, Ryan had a pretty good idea how it would turn out. Leaving Eugene Henry in the Oval Office, the president walked towards the hangar, only to meet with a rabbit plushie in a corridor. The terrible creatures had grown more numerous lately, and without any children to bond with. Let's play outside, the possessed toy asked, hopping in front of Ryan's feet. No, said the president, but the abomination wouldn't listen. Let's play outside, the plushie insisted, one of its paws revealing a switchblade. Not yet, Ryan replied, the promise of future destruction pacifying the beast of the end times. When he reached the hangar, Ryan found Frank dragging an old, 1986 Fleetwood Bounder right next to the unused Mechren mech. Alchemo and the doll stepped out of it, all under Saren's watchful gaze. Careful, I have precious equipment in the back. Alchemo was still the same brass and steel cyborg with a brain in a jar for a head and syringes for fingers. It took Ryan all his willpower to keep a straight face at the betrayer, as he grunted at Frank for carelessly handling his car. His android daughter T, alias the doll, had changed a little. She was still a lovely redhead dressed like the stereotypical country girl, but she had covered her arms with synthetic skin, making her truly lifelike. If Ryan didn't know her true nature, he might have mistaken her for a human of flesh and blood. And she glared at Ryan the second she spotted him. All clear, Mr. President. Frank greeted the leader of the free world with a military salute. Your guests have arrived. Good work, Agent Frank, Ryan congratulated him, while the doll moved in his direction. Hey, T, long time no see. She slapped him in the face with enough force to make him flinch. Saren prepared to blast T to smithereens, while a furious Frank took a step forward. Wait, it's okay. Ryan calmed his bodyguards with a raised hand. She's my ex. She can do that. Oh, she is a former First Lady? Frank asked, instantly calming down. A damn fine country girl you found, Mr. President. It reminds me of my native Texas, and the good old times. You, T glared at Ryan. No word for 2 years, and that's all you have to say? Long time no see? Ryan sighed, as he massaged his cheek. He could have dodged with a time stop, but a part of him thought he deserved it. Was that really warranted? That's all you deserved, Alchemo said dryly. Ryan, I understand you might have your reasons for leaving us. You always were a free spirit, and that's what I loved about you. T crossed her arms. But you didn't even write. Well. Ryan did send letters once, asking how their robot cow was doing, only to receive a confused answer. As it turned out, he had referenced events erased in a previous loop, and something they never built in the final one. The realization had crushed him so much he had erased that timeline too. Unfortunately, Ryan knew a lot more about Doll than the other way around. He had learned everything about her past, everything she liked, everything she hated. They had done all the things T had dreamed of, like visiting France, but she only remembered a fraction of their shared experiences. From her point of view, Ryan and her had a brief fling. From his, they had been together for years. And much like how Jasmine forgetting him had hurt, Ryan simply couldn't stand carrying the burden of a shared past alone, especially after Braindead's betrayal. So he left and tried to forget. And yet, when he looked at her, Ryan realized some people he left behind had cared. That the little time they remembered spending with the courier had mattered. And it made him feel regretful. "I'm sorry," Ryan said, not knowing what else to say. "I'm sincerely sorry." "That's a start," T said, her face softening a little. She simply couldn't hold a grudge. "But you have a great many things to explain. What are you doing with these monsters?" "Hey, I'm not a tinkin pretending to be human," Saren snarled, the doll ignoring her. "You are a member of the Meta Gang," Alchemo said with disdain. "Frankly, the only reason we're even here is because I owe this biological waste of a violet a favor. I don't even understand why he's working with you." "Yes, Ryan, I thought you hated psychos?" T asked, a little fearful for his well-being. They aren't forcing you to work with them?" Saren snorted. "You got it the other way around." "Nobody controls the USA," Frank added. "We arrested our alien overlords and enslaved them." "I won a civil war for control of this great nation," Ryan said. "Now I'm trying to find a cure for the psycho condition, and to help a friend in need, first and foremost." While the doll immediately looked concerned, Ryan's words only aroused Alchemo's scientific curiosity. "A cure for psychos, you said?" "All right, Ryan, I'll trust you. For old time's sake." T put her hands on her waist. "But there's still one person you're going to apologize to." The courier glanced at the minivan. "He's inside?" "Yes," T replied, utterly serious. "Yes, he is." Ryan took a deep breath and carefully opened the van's back doors. As expected, Alchemo had brought a sizable part of his workshop, from wetware computers, multicolored jars of questionable content, miniature brain scanners, and a toaster. Ryan looked at it, noticing 4 small wheels carrying it forward. The tiny object drove to the edge of the car, facing the courier. "Hi, Ryan," the toaster's vocalizer mimicked Schwarzenegger's Terminator voice. "Hi, Toasty." Ryan could feel the other's stares peering on his back. This was awkward. "You have wheels now?" "Yep, T installed them when I got tired of watching TV all day." Unlike the others, there was no hint of reproach in the toaster's voice. 2 years, Ryan. 2 years. I hope you toasted a lot of chicks in that time, because I couldn't get any."
"Yeah."
"Being a toaster probably reduces your opportunities," the courier mused. "There, still the same old ableist." The toaster let out a click sound. "Damn, I missed you, man. I love life on the farm, but you added a certain Genesquoi." Saren kept glancing between the toaster and Ryan, completely at a loss of words. "What, you thought the plushie was my first creation?" "That I was a one-trick pony," the courier deadpanned. "I went through a robot building phase."
"Yeah."
"He was scraping the bottom of the barrel when he made me," Toasty said as he drove out of the car and onto the bunker's floor. A little bit of advice, don't let him tinker in his boxers. You'll spend days picking up the scraps. You made an intelligent toaster. Saren glanced down at Ryan's creation with skepticism. Why a toaster? I feel I'm being judged right now, Toasty said. At one point in my life, I wanted to settle in France, Ryan explained. My greatest anxiety was to wake up with a lot of bread, and no way to toast it. Saren put a hand on her gas mask without a word. You know what, I don't care anymore. That's not even the worst thing he did. Brain dead snapped, having held a grudge for years. That dumbass equipped my gynoid construct for sex, and then left his dirty body fluids everywhere. It's okay, Dad, I have a cleanup routine, the doll replied, not at all embarrassed by the open outburst. We talked about this. Wait, you slept with a robot? Saren asked Ryan, finally putting the two and two together. I slept with everything and everyone. Though in the end, after centuries of experimentation, Ryan discovered he was mostly attracted to human-shaped women. The courier wouldn't say no to a new experience, like Darkling, but he clearly had a weakness for female geniuses shorter than him. I even equipped her with a detachable. Anyway, a Mecran base, huh? Alchemo changed the subject, instantly recognizing the bunker for what it was. Did you escalate from drug dealer to terrorist when I wasn't looking? It's not terrorism when our country does it, Frank replied. It's an armed intervention. Oh, awesome, a mecha. Toasty rolled in front of Mecran's Scorpion war machine. Could you upload my personality matrix into it? I mean, a giant robot is just a toaster with too much power. It's meant to be, baby. Is that why you need my unlimited genius? Alchemo asked Ryan, while the toaster happily rolled around the mech. For another prank? No, the courier replied dryly. As I said, a friend needs help. Alchemo and his daughter exchanged a glance, their demeanor changing from angry to concerned. Show me, the genius asked. After taking over the meta-gang, Ryan had Len transferred to the infirmary, changing the place from Psyshock's brainwashing assembly line into a true medical block. His comatose friend slept on an operation table, hooked to a respirator located right next to Dynami's brain-copying tech. She looked so peaceful in her sleep. Unfortunately, the other patient in the room was insufferably loud. You thief, I'll slay you. Acid Rain strained against her restraints, strapped to an operating table. I'll escape, and when I do, I'll rip you to pieces. I'll carve the gate open with your bowels. Typical psycho. Alchemo raised a handheld scanning device at her head, information appearing on the surface of his dome head. As expected, her head contains a nasty package of tumors and mutant neurons. I'm surprised she can even talk. It's getting harder to sedate her, boss, Saren warned Ryan. I think she's building a tolerance. I'll slay you. Acid Rain snarled at the courier. You're keeping them away from me. All of them. If it weren't for you, I could go back. I could go all the way BA. Alchemo hit the captive psycho in the neck with 3 syringe fingers, and injected her with colored liquids. Acid Rain let out a savage growl as her veins turned green from the intravenous transfer, before her voice died in her throat. A few seconds later, her gaze turned empty and lifeless. You know, if you wanted to practice euthanasia, there's a retirement home 2 districts away from here, Ryan told Braindead. I applied a treatment for brain cancer, and mood stabilizers, Alchemo explained. He couldn't understand black comedy. They will destroy the cancerous growths, stabilize her humors, and repair the damaged neurons. It will be a temporary fix as long as her psycho condition produces new mutations, but it should stabilize her mind for a while. Huh, Saren crossed her arms. Could you do the same with Mongrel? The juice wrecked his brain pretty bad too. I thought you didn't care about helping others, Ryan said, remembering how Alchemo had gone along with his drug cartel plans, but never really cared about curing people's illnesses. I didn't, Brain Dead admitted. But the doll nagged me into it. I thought we should give back to the world, the gynoid said with a smile and a happy nod. So many people suffer from tumors due to the aftereffects of Mecran's plagues, so I asked Dad to make a cure. Besides, saving my neurocomputers from Alzheimer and similar issues was one of my top priorities, Alchemo said, digging himself deeper. I had plenty of test subjects this way.
Yeah.
Still the same amoral mad scientist. At least the doll acted as his Jiminy Cricket. Ryan glanced at the unconscious Len. Could you cure depression? I can solve the physiological troubles associated with the syndrome, like chemical imbalances, but not the psychological roots. I'm no psychiatrist, and I don't have time to listen to whiners. Still, if Shorty could avoid relying on antidepressants, perhaps she could finally heal. T didn't miss the lingering gaze he sent to Len. Is she? It's her, yes, Ryan confirmed, the doll looking at the unconscious girl with interest. Len. You came to this city to find her, isn't it? That's why you left. You still wanted to find your friend, after all this time. The gynoid gently took Len's hand in her own. She feels so cold, the poor girl. Alchemo examined the comatose genius with his scanner. Someone repeatedly attempted to rewrite her brain patterns in a short amount of time, stressing out her neurons to the point of a near-complete shutdown. She won't wake up on her own, I assure you. Ryan bristled, though he wasn't surprised. We've got a copy of her mind. Livia had sent the file, but begged for a better way to record the information. A brain map copying a human mind needed many lines of code. She strained her fingers typing the whole thing, and even then Ryan suspected her power had helped a great deal in processing the whole thing. Could you repair her brain with it? What is the point of overwriting someone's mind with their own? Alchemo asked with skepticism, before deciding he didn't care. Do you have the device that causes these problems in the first place? Ryan pointed a finger at Dynami's brain tech, letting the genius examine it in detail. He didn't look very impressed.
I
see, very subtle, yes, Brain Dead said, as he examined the system's helmet. The system is booby-trapped, and will corrupt the new pattern during the overwriting with foreign elements. Can you repair it? Ryan asked. No, Brain Dead answered bluntly. The sabotage affects the machine's essential parts. However, the courier raised his head with hope. However, I can easily reverse engineer this machine and make my own. One that will work as intended. Alchemo glanced at the infirmary's walls, as if looking for a hidden camera or plan. Is there a genius workshop in this base? Knowing Mecran, he must have had a matter replicator assembled somewhere. There's one, yes, Ryan said, remembering it from the blueprints. A biomechanical blue brain controls the base. We intend to force our way to the mainframe and take it over. A UB, Alchemo guessed. A universal brain. The ultimate biomechanical data storing device. I always tried to build one, but never had the resources for it. It said something about Mecran that he was better than most geniuses in their own specialty. You could hijack it? Ryan asked. He intended to do it without Alchemo's help, but if the genius had turned over a new leaf. If I can get access to it, yes. I suppose it is easier said than done? Big Fat Adam managed to do so twice as far as Ryan knew, but by throwing countless people at the defenses. Nora's structural analysis should allow them to reach the mainframe quickly, but not without a fight. Well, we were preparing to launch an assault before your arrival. I know you're useless in a fight, so... I'm not useless, Brain-Dead Weekly protested. I am a man of science, not a sharpshooter, but I can defend myself. Not against robots, Ryan said, glancing at Frank. Which is why the U.S. Secret Service will ensure your safety. He will be safe, sir, the giant assured him. No president died under our watch. None that mattered. Of course. I'm coming, Shorty, Ryan told his comatose partner. Just wait.